Harry! Sir, it's nearly nightfall. Surely you realize I can't allow you to go roaming the grounds by yourself.
Well, then by all means come along, sir.
Harry Potter is a film franchise that somehow followed a group of kids to adulthood, and yet lacks a distinct level of cringe that this genre of film typically has. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Connor, and I'm just a regular guy with no formal experience trying to explain why I like movies. And in this video, I want to break down why I think Harry Potter was able to overcome viewer cringe while watching childhood drama. So I was just rewatching The Half-Blood Prince, which is my favorite of the series, and I was trying to figure out what made it so fun to come back to every time. I mean, it's the one movie with probably the least direct Voldemort involvement. I know he is technically around in the movie, but when I watched it originally when it came out, especially after Order of the Phoenix, where you get to see him face off with Dumbledore, you're expecting, okay, he's coming out in force now, and he doesn't. He's literally not directly involved. It's just other people acting on his behalf.
Don't you understand? I have to do this. I have to kill you. He's gonna kill me.
Also in this movie, they don't really travel to many places, and it all feels very self-contained compared to stuff like the Order of the Phoenix or the Deathly Hallows. We've seen all these big locations and stuff and all these magical places, and in this movie, it's really Hogwarts and then this weird cave place at the end. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all students, but so often they're not like in Hogwarts going to class. They're out making an army of students to fight the government. They're playing in some dangerous Olympic games for wizards. This movie, The Half-Blood Prince, allowed the trio to encounter things that people at that age encounter, and it seemed to be more stripped down to that level.
Pie? Not for me, no.
You have the love drama, and you have students trying to impress the teachers, the social anxiety that comes with playing a sport in front of your classmates. The Half-Blood Prince is more of a personal story rather than a big epic adventure that I feel like Harry Potter turns into later in the series, I guess I would say. We quite literally went from learning how to make a feather float with one spell to trying to stop a government takeover of the school. So yeah, I noticed that and said, cool, that's simple enough. I'll take that. The Half-Blood Prince is just a simpler story. And, I know myself. I know I like simpler stories rather than super complex ones. There's something great about just a story that you can just sit down and just observe and enjoy. But then I was like, hold on. I just said a few minutes ago, I like The Half-Blood Prince because they have some personal teen drama. Who in their right mind likes movies with cringy kids and their teenage angst?
She seems a bit put out.
Especially during that teenage age, me watching those movies always felt like a personal attack. There's always those people who are teenagers or kids and they're watching those movies and they're like, yeah, this is so relatable. Meanwhile, I'm watching it and I'm like, this is awkward because this is what everyone is envisioning that I'm doing, but I'm not. I hope that I'm not that awkward and weird. And, maybe I was, but I don't want people calling me out over film. Like, I tried rewatching The Hunger Games recently, and the cringe in some of these movies is terrible because they juxtapose this super serious authoritarian government with which boy does Katniss find pretty? And then the logic is, maybe if she kisses them both, then that'll make the decision easier, and it just doesn't work. It's so weird and awkward for me to just sit through, and I get shivers. It's so weird. It's the same thing with like Divergent, or literally any other movie centered on kids and teens, like you could think Twilight even, because these movies always center around a coming-of-age story, and the rest is secondary. But when I watch Harry Potter, I don't get that feeling. Instead, it's like I'm going to see my childhood friends fight some dragons or whatever. So this took a little more thinking, but honestly, I feel like what really sets Harry Potter apart from the others in this genre or space is that the main characters being children is a background factor. They are literally children. Adults are constantly telling them they are children, but the story doesn't rely on this. In fact, it routinely puts them into adult situations, and the kids rise to the challenge.
But this time, I cannot hope to destroy it alone. Once again, I must ask too much of you, Harry.
But they're never overly confident or cocky. They just do what needs to be done, regardless of their age or the severity of the problem, thus reducing the possibility of cringe. There's nothing more cringy than an adult telling a kid, you can't do this, you're just a kid. And then the kid does it and goes, you see, kids can do things. Like, oh my gosh, this is just awful. Harry Potter himself is a kid whose parents were murdered when he was a child, and then he was placed with a family that hates him. Hermione is constantly bullied because of her parents, and Ron is bullied because his family is poor. For the most part, these things, maybe not Harry's parents being murdered, but for the most part, these things can show up in typical teen kid movies. But they also make them super obvious and try to teach the viewers that this behavior is wrong and, bullying should be dealt with, which, sure, it should, but, I don't like it when you have a very overt message in a movie. Try to blend it in a little, please. And Harry Potter, in many ways, is able to disguise these relatable subjects with magic so that it rarely feels like they're hitting us over the head with these messages. They're just perfectly able to blend this stuff in.
You look dreadful, Ron. Is that why you put something in his cup? Is it a tonic? Liquid luck? Don't drink it, Ron.
Not only that, like I hinted at previously, these relatable subjects are also in the background. It's never just, oh, this person bullied me. It's more like, this person bullied me. Also, there's a murderer on the grounds, and we should catch him. In my opinion, the Half-Blood Prince does the best with this balance. On the relatable side, we're seeing Ron being dumb and kissing any girl who kind of shows him attention, not realizing that Hermione also has feelings for him. Then we also have Ginny and Harry doing their thing in the special room and all that stuff, both of which are like a death sentence for cringe in most teen movies. But these moments aren't the end-all be-all for this story. Because between these moments, we get intercut flashbacks of Tom Riddle's childhood. We get Draco being ordered to kill Dumbledore along with all of his assassination attempts. We get Harry almost killing Draco. Ironically, in a movie without Voldemort's direct involvement, I would argue this movie also makes Voldemort more intimidating than most of the others. The older movies showed people afraid to utter his name. This movie showed you the emotional scars he left on the good people he touched during his ascent to power.
Please, don't think badly of me when you see it. You've no idea what he was like even then.
In reality, it's frankly amazing that this movie doesn't fall into super dark territory. Just when you think it might get dark, we get a scene of Ron trying out for the Quidditch team, or Harry taking Luna to a fancy party and seeing, a guy throw up on Snape's shoes. So now I am realizing the Half-Blood Prince is my favorite because of how balanced it is. We get these relatable teen moments that inject that funny, awkward life into the movie. But before it gets overwhelming, we get some intimidating, sometimes deathly moments. This is what the other teen childhood movies lack, in my mind. An understanding that you can have relatable childhood-aged main characters, but their age doesn't need to be the main focus of the story in order for it to be relatable. The focus should be on a real, interesting, fully fleshed out story whose main characters could be any age, and the writer just decided to see how a kid would handle it.
I am the chosen one. Only I can destroy him, but in order to do so, I need to know what Tom Riddle asked you all those years ago in your office, and I need to know what you told him. Be brave, Professor. Be brave like my mother. Otherwise, you disgrace her. Otherwise, she died for nothing. Otherwise, the bowl will remain empty. Forever.
So that's all I got for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter, which one's your favorite Harry Potter? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I hope to hear from you guys next week. Hope we all have a great week. So long.